Morning, everybody. Let me welcome you in the name of All for One Middle East. My name is Joanna Michon, and I'm privileged to be the host and moderator of this webinar. The topic of this webinar is not trivial, something that will bother most SAP managers sooner or later, namely how to run S/4HANA migration. The question will be, and actually is already asked at the boardrooms, CAOs meeting and SAP departments. With this webinar, we hope to bring you some answer to the topic. And where does this hope come from? We are lucky to host great panelists today. And the first one is Michał Zemke, skilled and experienced in SAP S/4HANA migrations, like few IT people in SAP world now. He's a manager in the special unit of All for One that performs S/4HANA migrations for our customers on a daily basis. And the second panelist is Jakub Szwajkowski, Customer Success Manager, who assists the customers in discovering the road to S/4HANA migration. Jakub will start with a short introduction of the topic. Before that, a few information from the technical team before we start. If you have any questions, just write the questions in the chat window. It's on your right, on the top of the screen. And if you need to deepen a particular subject, a topic of S/4HANA migration, please let us know also. So feel free to use the chat window. We will collect all the questions and topics, and we'll try to answer at the end or afterwards via email. So now I'd like to hand over to our first speaker. Jakub, your turn.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. It's really nice that we have a chance to present for you today's webinar regarding the S/4HANA migration. My name is Jakub Szwajkowski, and I'm responsible for business development of our business in Middle East. Of course, I'm visiting the Middle East region monthly. Next week, I will be in Dubai. So if someone would like to meet with me, I will be there. And in 2 weeks, I will be in Dammam. So today, we would like to present you a few words about us and then about our tools and methodology which we use during the S/4HANA migration. So let's start. Some few information about All for One. All for One Group, this is the leading SAP partner in the Central Europe, and we employ more than 3,000 employees in 7 countries. We carried out the project for the customer. The number of our customers is more than 2,500 customers from different countries, from different sectors. We support them in scope of SAP project, SAP transformation project, and application management support. Let's go further. Digital Transformation Center. This is our separate competence center in our consulting department, which specializing in SAP transformation projects, including migration to S/4HANA, located in Poland, and our team is more than 50 people who support SAP projects around the world, including the Middle East region as well. On average, once a month, the team performs the go-live of a new S/4HANA system. CrystalBridge, this is the SAP transformation platform which we will present you today, and thanks to automation migration activities and data transition engagement approach and near zero downtime approach, this platform helps customers in SAP transformation projects, especially in S/4HANA migration, to make these kind of projects faster and more safe. More details about the components of this software and methodology which we use during these projects will be presented by my colleagues. So, Michał, the stage is yours. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kuba. So hello, my name is Michał Zemke. So good morning, good afternoon, depending on the time zone you're located. And I will have the pleasure to describe to you some topics related to the S/4HANA migration. yeah, like Jana just said, it's not an easy topic, but in case we will talk about that from the technical point of view, this is something that each company which is using SAP for today will have to do. And in these lessons learned we have from the projects which are already finished, we can share with you with some knowledge which can be initial to decide which projects and which approach should be taken to get a smoothly move from the ECC environment to the S/4HANA system. For today, I prepared the agenda where we will talk about 6 points, and I would like to briefly present them. So we talk about the consolidation and harmonization of the business partners from multiple systems. And I think this is one of the main points when we think about the migration to the S/4HANA, that we will have to deal with the business partners. And a lot of companies have an issue how to challenge the requirements from the business to succeed with the conversion to the S/4HANA. As you are aware, SAP decided to use the business partner model in S/4HANA system. And in fact, the client model or the supplier model will be replaced with the business partner. So that means that if the client is deciding to move to the S/4HANA, then we also have to create a business partner for these customers and vendors, and we will have to replace them in the new S/4HANA system. We will talk about accounting mechanism in data migration. So this is the usage of the BAPIs, which can be used to migrate the documents, financial documents or logistic documents, or to cover, let's say, the part related to the stocks in accounting. Then we will talk about the migration of the industry-specific solutions, which are worldwide used by many of the companies. Then I will talk also about the CrystalBridge as a data transformation tool, which is our main tool to execute with the transformation to the S/4HANA system and do the conversion to the S/4HANA system. I will briefly describe the Bluefield approach, where we can consolidate multiple projects in one approach, in one go live. And on top of that, I will try to provide with some lessons learned from our projects in Saudi Arabia when I will discuss these points from the agenda. Okay, so let's move on. I will talk about the consolidation and harmonization of the business partner from multiple systems. I think that this is important to mention that our software is capable to select the data from the source system from the multiple source system. So not only the one ERP system which can be used to select the data for the data migration, but we can select this data from multiple productive systems, so from multiple source systems. And then we can consolidate all this data which has been selected into the business partner form into the S/4HANA system. And in order to execute these activities, when we will especially deal with the multiple systems, we have to deal with the cleansing of the data which are stored in those systems. And we need to do the harmonization of those data in the business process as well. So let's say, in order to achieve that, we can use these possibilities from our transformation tool when we can execute the cleansing of those customers, vendors, or maybe sometimes the business partners, because if the business partner is already used by the client, then we can also do the same action on this data set. We can also execute the deletion of those customers, vendors, and business partners. We can consolidate the CVI link with this data. We can do the business partner harmonization, and at the end, we can execute the S/4HANA conversion. And we already have the experience also in doing these activities in S/4HANA systems. So not only starting from the ECC and move to the S/4HANA, but we already started this kind of project also with the transformation of the S/4HANA system to S/4HANA system. So there are a lot of possibilities to cover this topic, and I believe that looking at the past success projects we have in the company, and with that software CrystalBridge, we already succeed more than 12,500 projects which are successful to the clients. And that means that also we are gathering the knowledge in the area of the new client requirements and new client expectations. And looking at this topic, yeah, I think it's one of the most important topics when we talk about the S/4HANA conversion, because the business partner is part of every single project we do in S/4HANA. And in fact, we do more S/4HANA projects today than we were doing even 2-3 years ago. So it seems that the clients has already started to move this system to the new platform, new technology, and we can use the software to support these activities. Okay, so that was about the business partner. Now I will talk about the posting mechanism in data migration. This is something that is special, I would say, in the projects, because there are two ways how we can handle with the data migration: table-based, or we can use the programs, so-called BAPIs, to do the postings automatically directly with the data which are selected to move them to the new target system. The posting mechanism is mostly used in the finance and also in logistics, especially for the MM when we talk about the stocks. And here is an example of one of the projects we did. So we were doing the selective migration, so-called carve-out. And the scope for that project was in the area of the FI, so the finance and asset accounting. And the task for that project was to execute the posting of open items of the customers and vendors. So we had the open position in that area. As you can see, that project was executed in the ECC environment. So also the source and the target system was the ECC environment. And the problem we had here was that we had to select open FI items via the profit center and via the company code for the customers and the vendors. And also additional task we had for that was to use the masking of those profit centers that are out of scope of the data migration. And posting and closing of these documents is executed via the posting engine. This is the tool, special tool, which is used in our transformation. And how we deal with that in the project, so we use the CrystalBridge platform, which is the main platform we use for every single project we execute within the data digital transformation center. This is the platform which helps us to identify the client system. So how does it work? We execute the scan on the client system to count the existing data the client is using. So we will get the information about the structure of these organizations, so including all the organization units which are relevant for the project, for the execution of the project. And we will count the transactional and master data records, but only count them. So it means that we will not know the value of the data itself, but we will know, for example, how many customers or vendors client have in his system. And then we are using the application, which is part of the CrystalBridge, and it is called the Transformation Cockpit. And via that tool, we have a lot of additional applications which can be executed. So one of them is the domain usage and domain usage with content. And this tool has been used to deal with that project when we had to talk and address the data for the posting engine. So with the domain usage with content, we can search and scan directly the satellite system, which will be the source system, one or multiple systems, and we can identify via the domain usage all the related tables when there is a specific content stored. And we can have two possibilities to execute it. We can scan the tables in general without the content, or we can use the content. So for example, if the client is searching for the specific customer and would like to know where it was used, then we can execute that program and find it easily in all the related SAP tables. And it will cover also standard SAP tables or the customer tables, so ZY or even add-ons. And with that approach, we can also decide which delivery class for the search table will be used to identify the content. And with help of this, we were able to translate the required information to the posting engine, which was then executed within the project via the consultants. And we were able to achieve exactly what client was expecting. What are the benefits with the usage of this posting engine? Of course, the cost reduction, minimize project duration, effectiveness, and saving of resource involved. So, okay, let's move on to the next topic. We'll touch the industry-specific solutions, and this is a really nice topic because there are a lot of specific industry solutions used worldwide by the SAP and the clients, and some of these industry solutions has been integrated to be as a SAP standard, but a lot of them are still third-party solutions in the market. And one of these examples which I can give you is that we were doing a project in Middle East in the area of the student lifecycle management, as an example. And we were using that to execute the data migration for the students from the source system, which is the EC system, to the S/4HANA system as a target. And we were using that industry solution to identify all the related data, objects, ranges, to cover all the students and prepare the data migration for the new semester. So this kind of, let's say, approach are also possible to be executed via the CrystalBridge when we prepare the project for the data transformation. And here on the list, you can see that there are approximately 150 ready objects for the industry solutions which we can already use. Of course, some of them will be required with the adjustment depending on the scope of the project and the organization units which are in scope for the data selection, for example. But with the help of the tool, we are able to cover, in fact, all of them. And if there is an industry solution which is still not known to us, no issue, we are able to identify the structure of these tables and prepare the solution in the system also to take this data together with us. Okay, I will move on to another example. This is the case for the carve-out of the companies, but this will describe a specific issue related to the module which was used by the client. So the project was about the split of these organization units, and we had to do it in the scope of the finance and the asset accounting again. And here you can see that source and the target system was S/4HANA this time. So it was not ECC to S/4HANA, but it was S/4HANA to S/4HANA. So this is a special case of the project we already started to execute with our clients, and we are trying to support them in the area of those requirements. And what was the problem here within the project? So within the project, we had that an issue that we had to create a totally new scenario for the data migration, which was only covering the SAP finance module within the S/4HANA system. So we had to adjust the migration objects and the content of these migration objects, which was including all the tables, connections, relations, and also the rules in the area of the selection of the data, and also what we do with these data when we load them back to the system. And we had to identify new tables, which has been, let's say, narrowed down the data from the module itself. It was a little bit hard for us, to be honest, because we didn't expect that the client's requirements will grow within the project, and we had to deal with that. But successfully, we were able to succeed with all the expectations from the client. Yeah, we prepared already also some new solutions for the future project in that area. So we also gathered some new know-how in that area. And how we deal with that? Yeah, it's also similar. We use as well the posting engine for that. And we also use the part related to the domain usage, which was really helpful for us to select with this data. And now I will try to describe to you how this domain usage can be used. Okay, if we talk about the data restructuring in the projects, in the data migration projects, we need to think about how we can collect this information from the system. So in the system on the lower level, we have table fields. Table field can have unique name And we can have sometimes several table feeds which are exactly on the same meaning, but they were prepared with the new naming to separate the existing data within the table. Sometimes you can have even the same table twice listed in the same table. You will have to distinguish this name to, let's say, to operate with that. One of these examples can be future price. You can have future price 1, 2, 3, depending on the multiple currencies which can be used in the system, or maybe you can have a double customer number in the table. So these table feeds are connected to the data elements. And again, it can repeat exactly in the same approach. So you can have one or you can have multiple data elements which are, let's say, combining the similar fields from the SAP, from the data dictionary. And on top of that, you have a domain. So this is the name of the higher level, let's say, asset hierarchy, I would say, which can select all these data narrowed down, which are listed on the screen. So if you will select this record via the domain, you will select also the data element 1, data element 2, and all these fields which are listed below. Of course, there are some special areas in the system when we can have several domains for the same meaning. One of these examples can be the address number, which is stored in the SAP table as a technical number only to identify the related record in the system. And what we can do with this data when we select them or do the import via the domain, we can execute the mapping tables when we execute the import phase, for example. What does it mean? If you have the value in the source system which has A and B, that with the mapping table, you can decide that when we will select the record A and B from the source system, and when I will load this record back to the target system, I would like to call it C. So A and B will be mapped to C. This is an example, of course. You can use the prefixes, for example. This is mostly used in the logistics. I think we mostly use that in sales and distribution. For example, if we are having a task to migrate the data from the source system to not an empty system. So it means that the target system is not empty. And we need to integrate some data. These are the projects which I will describe in a minute, but we call them the merge projects. So we integrate the existing data with the data we load. And for that, sometimes we are using the prefixes to separate the number ranges for the documents. Like, for example, in SD, you can have a sales document, delivery document, and also the billing document. We can also use this logic to change the target table. What does it mean? Especially it is mostly visible when we touch condition tables, like A tables. So you have some predefined SAP range tables for that, and you can also use some kind of customized tables which are only valid for your company. And in case you are having 2 or 3 similar tables in the source system, and when you go to the target system, to the S/4HANA system, you would like to decide to merge these conditions, then we can use this functionality to translate this data from table A, B, C to table A in the target system. So it is also possible. And the most important part for this data restructuring is the renumbering, which we are executing when we do the system conversion, data migration, this kind of stuff. So we have to renumerate those technical numbers. Especially it is happening always in almost every project when we execute the data, carve out or merge to renumber the addresses which are used to store the data for the clients, for the vendors, for the address details. And especially when we do the merge projects, we need to consider the renumbering issue to be covered in order not to, let's say, mess with the data. Because what can happen, right? If you will not renumerate the number of the address, and you will copy this number to the target system, but that number was already used in the target system, then you will replace the value which is stored behind of this number in the address data record. So this cannot be the case because it will break the system. Okay, domain usage function in migration. So here is an example where we use that. So we're using the selecting conversion. So it means that we were selecting only part of the existing system and we were moving this data to the new target system. Scope was module refx. So this is a special module which is used in the in the business. And as you can see, we were moving the data from the ECC to the S/4HANA system. And what were the problems? We had to verify all the changes which are related to the RefX module after the conversion to the S/4HANA system. And we had to verify and harmonize all these kind of changes. And with the domain usage, we were able to identify all these related data and connections between the tables, how to build this solution with the client. And of course, customization of this functionality was used to cover the niche module, which is the RefX, and it was covering the architecture and also objects and all this stuff which are related to these arrangements, reservation and arrangements. And in fact, it was a challenge for us, but the domain usage was really helpful, and the project was successful with the help of those consultants who spent a lot of time to analyze this data, and it was possible to be executed. And these kind of examples also shows that our tool is capable to cover even the tough projects, which are not the standard one in the market. Okay, of course, it was not that easy to cover that project because we had to gather the knowledge in the area of the RefX, which was missing in the team. But with the help of the company, we were able to find the right person to talk about the details. Selective merger. I think this is the most difficult part of the project we can execute with the clients. So I was mentioning that already, that we are migrating the data to not an empty system. And here is an example we were doing with the ECC scenario. So source and target was ECC system. And we were doing here the scope of the finance and controlling, and we were doing the merge. And as you can see, the problem which was described here is that we had to select the part of the data of one of the merged company codes, and we had to execute a split at the finance and controlling document level. And I think these are the most difficult projects which we can execute with the clients. Yeah, what were the other challenges? The time limit scope of the migration was not corresponding to the financial year. And I think that most of the clients are mostly accept to execute the data migration with the financial year. So we end with the current year, we start with the new year, and then we do the migration just before the old year will end and the new year will come. But here we had to do it in between. So this was a very challenge, let's say, project for us. And we had to also remove the migrated data from the source system. So this data which has been selected and then has been integrated into the existing system, we had to remove them from the source system. So it was an additional challenge, and it is showing that our tool is able to capable to do the changes in both satellite systems, the source and the target as well. We can also execute the cleaning of this data. Okay, and yeah, there were a couple of challenges with that project. So first of all, we had to use the custom selections in the migration object. So we had to build a special migration objects to cover these requirements. And another topic was that we had to really make a huge analysis on the number ranges. And in the merge projects, this type of data is very crucial to be analyzed. And we had to really do the analysis in the area of the summary tables, which has been important when we were adding some new data to the existing organization unit, which was already on the productive system with the clients. So all these summary tables had to be checked and updated with these new values, which comes to the new system. And of course, we had to do it in both systems, in source and in the target. In the target, because we were doing the merge, but in the source, because we were having also a task to remove the data which has been moved. So also these summary tables had to be adjusted and updated. And at the end, of course, the complete verification of this work has to be performed and validated with the clients. And I think these are the most difficult projects which we can execute. Okay, a few words about the Bluefield. So the consolidation of multiple projects into one go live. So on the top, you can see that we have an example where the client would like to go to the S4HANA or to go to the clouds in that example. And as you can see, in the classical approach with the Brownfield or with the Greenfield, a customer would execute a couple of projects. So he would, let's say, prepare the data archiving, for example, execute the Unicode conversion, or maybe do the enhancement pack for his current system. Then he had to prepare the new GL conversion, which is required to, for example, with the S4HANA projects. Sometimes he is forced to execute the Brownfield conversion to the S4HANA, business partner implementation, which is crucial for the S4HANA as well. And then at the end, the business transformation, which will touch the process and the organization change. And at the end, with that, if that project is finished, he could move, for example, to the cloud migration. And with the Bluefield approach and with the CrystalBridge transformation platform, it is possible to do all these projects which are listed on top in one go. So what does it mean in one go? It means that we can do all these steps at once within the one downtime for the productive system with one data migration and data conversion. And as you can see here below is that we can use this functionality of the Bluefield, which is a combination of the Greenfield and Brownfield in the market, and we can create an empty shell, which is that empty target system. And we can decide if you would like to move it to the cloud on the same step. Then we can make a conversion of the enhancement pack, all the updates which are needed to be on the S4HANA. Then we can use the configuration to execute the S4HANA simplification. We can add also new functionalities. And not least, but we can also migrate the data and execute the testing. So we can use here the full data migration, selective data migration, and we can do the conversion also for the business partners as well. And all of these steps can be executed in one go. And I think this is the beauty of the software we are using, because it helps our customers and potential customers to make the decision to continue the future projects also with us, especially that we have the knowledge, we have the know-how, and we have the background with the projects which we are doing. In that year, we already started or finished more than 150 projects to S4HANA together with my team. And I am really proud that we are able and capable to do project also on the worldwide range, so we can execute the project even in 60, 70 countries at once. And we already had these kind of projects with my current team, and I'm really proud to be part of that. So thank you very much for your attention. I will now give the voice to Yasha.
Okay, thank you, Michał. Thank you very much for this really deep insight into the topic of S4HANA migration. That was very interesting. But first of all, thank you. Thank you for all the attendees for your attention and that you devote your time. Additionally, I would like to say that we have a couple of questions. I don't know if the technical team has managed to pass them to our speaker, to Michał. Is it possible?
Yeah, I can see already some questions from the audience. So let me try to.
All right, you can see that. All right.
Yes, I can see that.
Yeah, just pick maybe one, Michał, if it's possible to answer now. If not, of course, we'll answer our questions afterwards.
Yeah, okay. So there is a question on how many cycles of data cleansing we need to prepare and how time in weeks, months it took. I think that's the question about the business partner, if I'm not mistaken. In general, when we execute the project to the S4HANA, it depends, of course, on the contents of the clients and scope for the project. But R2 is able and capable to execute the S4HANA project between 4 to 9 months. And within that time, we execute standard 5-phase of the project. We call them the mass tests phase, and we have 3 basic test phase. One is purely technical, to check the system performance, to check objects, migration rules, etc. Then we have 2 test mass, which we execute together with the client. So that means that when we execute the data migration and data conversion to S4HANA, the client steps in and executes the test on his side. Then we have another phase, which is the dry run. We call it also the go-live simulation. And if everything is okay, we set up the go-live, which is the 5th phase of the project. And looking at the business partner and data harmonization, of course, it will depend on the scope, because if there will be a company which has only, I don't know, maybe 10,000 of customers and vendors, then it will be very easy to execute the data harmonization. But in case the client is having more than 100,000 of records for the customers and some more them or similar number for the vendors, of course, it can take a little bit longer. But we have a tool which is able to identify the so-called golden records. And for the golden records, we can identify the fields which are used to execute the check. So we can identify, I don't know, maybe the tax number or the address data or the name of the customer or the vendor. And that tool can identify those golden records which should be used for the data migration with the business partners. And we repeat that in every stage of the project. So in fact, we will do it in the mass test, the technical one. We will do it in the TM1 phase, TM2 phase together with the clients. And when the project will move on, we will also work on the quality of these golden records verification. In Middle East, we were having a special I would say, case when we were touching this project related to the student lifecycle management, where we had to really work hard on the golden record identification. Why? Because there were some student records which were created in the past when one person was created more than 100 times in the system. It was a special student who was coming back to the university to continue the learning, and in the time, this record has been multiplied more than 100 times. And with that kind of issues, we really had to identify which one is the golden records, because in fact, that student was created, I think, 174 times in the system on the client side. And we had to decide which one will be the last one, which one will be the most valid one. Because when we were doing the BP conversion, we had to decide which record will be used. And that task was created by us. In fact, it was not the standard approach. There was one of my favorite colleague who take this action, and he delivered the solution to the clients. And right now I had also the possibility to continue with that approach with other projects as well. In fact, the golden records can be identified very quick. It can be 1 week even. But sometimes the client has some extra expectations, and we need to work on that within the project, right? What is important for us is to catch the rule which we will use to select the data, and the rule which we will use to load the data back to the system. If the rule is defined and it is working correctly, then also the records will be processed in the correct way and the correct manner. Okay, how do we verify the data migrated currently from the system ECC to the S4HANA, and how we challenge with this data? Okay, so the tool, that CrystalBridge, is really full of applications which can be used with the data migration, and we have a tool which can make a check on the data which has been migrated. We call it the data consistency verification check. In abbreviation is DCV. And with that tool, we are able to make a test of the data which has been used for the data migration, and we can scan the total system from standard to customized tables to see if there are any inconsistency between the configuration, between the master data, and between the transactional data. If something is missing, we will get this information in the report form, which we can then present to our clients and check how we can deal with that. Because sometimes we need to rebuild the logic for the rules which we are using to load the data back to the system, and this kind of information can be used. Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that there are more questions also on the list, but I think that we can try to answer these questions after this session. We can send out the answer via the email. In fact, I will repeat also those questions which are already answered, so we can have them in a written form. And yeah, if you will have more questions, then please feel free to address them to my colleagues. Then they will pass the
sure.
questions to our department, and we will try to answer all your questions you will get.
Yeah, thank you, Michał. Now the information for the all attendees, you can see on the slide how you can contact us. So I encourage you, if you have more questions or if you ever come across any SAP dilemma connecting with S/4HANA migration, just get in touch with us to our Middle East office. On the email or by the phone. So at the All for One Middle East, we are here for you. So yeah. Thank you very much.
Maybe I will answer one last question I saw, because it's very interesting. There was a question about the volume and how many years back we can migrate the data. In fact, we can migrate all the data which are in the system. But I think I was already doing projects where the customer was having a history of 20 years in his system. And I was already doing project with the database size of 20 terabytes or even more. So in fact, the tool is capable to cover all these kind of, let's say, requirements. And we have a lot of possibilities to deal with the complexity of the client system and system landscape. So there are a lot of, let's say, solutions which can be also addressed with the CrystalBridge solution. Okay.
Michał, you are really a gold mine of knowledge regarding S/4HANA migration. I have to say it. We are lucky to host you here, to have you here. Remind us how many migrations so far in this year have your team performed? You have given the number during your presentation, haven't you?
It was more than 150. Only that
150. Year. Oh my God! All right, and
yes.
So it was just like every second day, more or less.
Yeah. I would say that we do not have a week right now without the go live. So
a week.
Really, every week we have a go live within the team. And in fact, we are even shortening the runtime for the easy projects when the client would like only to move the existing data to the S/4HANA and he has no special requirements. We are also shortening the time for execution of these kind of projects. Yeah.
Marvelous.
But
all right.
I would say so we have more and more complicated project with special requirements. So these are the most challenging projects for us, because we also gain new knowledge, and we have also new possible solutions which can be reused in the another project as well.
All right. Okay. Great. Thank you. So once again, yeah. So great that you have devoted your time to the webinar. If you would like to get some additional materials, or as we have already said, if you have more questions, just get in touch with us. My name was Joanna Michon. Thank you very much. See you again.
Thank you.